Hey warriors, welcome back to the channel. December 2008, a man stood in his garage, holding a gun to his head. 3 months earlier, he'd made a decision. One decision. It took him 8 seconds. He invested his entire retirement, $470,000, into a fund his brother-in-law recommended. The numbers looked good. The returns were impressive. Everyone he trusted was doing it. 8 seconds to say yes. The fund was a Ponzi scheme. Bernie Madoff. He lost everything. But here's what haunts me about this story, and why I'm telling it to you. He knew something was wrong. He told his wife the night before he invested, "Something feels off." But everyone says I'm overthinking it. He felt the truth, but he couldn't think through the fog of social proof, the fog of family pressure, the fog of FOMO, the fog of his ego, telling him he was smart enough to spot a scam. So this couldn't be one. 8 seconds, one decision, everything gone. Machiavelli wrote in 1513 that the wise man does at once what the fool does finally. Translation: the fool learns through catastrophic pain. The wise man sees the trap before stepping in it. But here's the truth that's going to shatter everything you think you know about decision making. Your brain is lying to you. Right now, in this moment. So if you're ready, if you're done making decisions in the fog, and you want to see reality as it actually is, subscribe right now, because we're about to dismantle every mental defense mechanism you've built to protect yourself from the truth. Every decision you make passes through an invisible filter of fear, ego, trauma, and need before it reaches your conscious mind. You think you're thinking clearly, but you're not. You're thinking through fog, and that fog is killing you slowly. One bad relationship, one missed opportunity, one ignored red flag at a time. Stay till the end, because I'm about to show you the exact mental framework Machiavelli used to cut through the fog and see reality as it is. The framework that separates people who control their destiny from people who watch their life burn while standing in smoke they can't see. Let me ask you something. How many decisions have you made in the last year that you regret? Not small ones, big ones. The relationship you stayed in too long. The job you took because it felt safe. The person you trusted who you knew would betray you. The investment you made. The conversation you avoided. The opportunity you let slip. Now ask yourself this. How many of those decisions felt wrong before you made them? Be honest. Somewhere in your gut, in the back of your mind, in that quiet voice you've learned to ignore, you knew. You knew the relationship was toxic. You knew the job would drain you. You knew that person couldn't be trusted. You knew the numbers didn't add up, but you did it anyway. Why? Because knowing and thinking clearly are not the same thing. Knowing is intuition, a feeling, a sense. Clear thinking is the ability to act on what you know, even when every emotional force in your brain is screaming at you to do the opposite. Here's what most people don't understand about the human mind. Your brain is not designed to help you make good decisions. It's designed to help you survive. And survival and success operate on completely different algorithms. Survival says, stay with the group, don't take risks, avoid rejection, seek comfort, protect your ego. Success says, think independently, take calculated risks, accept uncomfortable truths, delay gratification, destroy your illusions. These are opposing forces, and every single day, your survival brain is overriding your success brain without you even noticing. That's the fog. Let me show you how this works. Imagine you're in a relationship. Your partner is pulling away. They're distant, cold, evasive. Your gut tells you something is wrong, but your brain immediately starts generating alternative explanations. They're just stressed at work. They're going through something. I'm being paranoid. If I bring it up, I'll push them away. Maybe I'm not giving them enough space. You're not thinking clearly. You're thinking protectively. Your brain is protecting you from the pain of confronting a truth you're not ready to face. So it generates fog, plausible explanations, comforting narratives, reasons to wait, to hope, to give it more while you're waiting, the truth is metastasizing. 3 months later, you find out they've been cheating for months, and you look back and realize, I knew the entire time. I knew, but you couldn't think clearly enough to act on what you knew. Think about your career. You're in a job that's draining you. Your boss doesn't respect you. There's no growth, no future. You've known this for a year, but you stay. Why? Because your brain feeds you fog. The market is tough right now. I need the stability. What if I can't find something better? At least I know what I'm dealing with here. I'll look for something new next year. That's not rational thinking. That's fear disguised as rational thinking. Your brain is protecting you from the discomfort of uncertainty, the risk of rejection, the effort of change, so it keeps you paralyzed, comfortable, slowly dying, and you call that being realistic. Machiavelli understood this better than almost anyone in history. He wrote, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see but few can feel." Translation: most people make decisions based on surface appearances and immediate emotions. Only the rare few penetrate to the underlying reality. You're making decisions based on what you see, the surface story your brain tells you. But reality exists in what you feel, the truth underneath the fog. And until you learn to cut through that fog, you'll keep making the same mistakes, different faces, same patterns. Now before we go deeper, before I show you the exact framework for cutting through the fog and thinking with surgical clarity, I need to know you're serious, because what I'm about to teach you will be uncomfortable. It will force you to confront truths about yourself you've been avoiding. It will destroy comforting illusions. It will make you responsible for outcomes you've been blaming on circumstances. And that kind of clarity requires courage. Let's start with the first enemy of clear thinking, your ego. Your ego is not your friend. It's the part of your brain that needs to be right, needs to be special, needs to protect your self-image at all costs, and it will sacrifice truth on the altar of comfort every single time. Here's how it works. You make a decision. The decision turns out to be wrong. Clear thinking says, I was wrong. I misread the situation. I need to adjust my thinking. But your ego says, I wasn't wrong. The circumstances changed. Other people failed. I was sabotaged. I did everything right. It just didn't work out. You see the difference? Clear thinking accepts responsibility, learns, adapts. Ego deflects responsibility, protects, repeats. And the more you let your ego control your thinking, the more you trap yourself in patterns you can't escape. Let me give you a real-world example. You're dating someone. 6 months in, you start noticing red flags. They're controlling, jealous. They isolate you from friends. They criticize you constantly. Clear thinking says, this is toxic. I need to leave. But your ego says, I chose this person. I told everyone how great they were. If I leave now, I'm admitting I was wrong. That I got played. That I wasted 6 months. So you stay. Not because the relationship is good, but because leaving would require admitting your judgment was flawed. Your ego would rather endure pain than admit error. And 6 months becomes a year. A year becomes 2 years. 2 years becomes a marriage. All because you couldn't think clearly past your need to be right. This is what Machiavelli meant when he said, the wise man does at once what the fool does finally. The wise man sees the truth immediately and acts on it, regardless of ego, regardless of embarrassment, regardless of sunk cost. The fool protects their ego, delays, rationalizes, and eventually, after enough suffering, does what they should have done in the first place. The only difference between the two is the willingness to think clearly now instead of later. The second enemy of clear thinking, emotional reasoning. This is when you let your feelings determine your reality. I feel anxious, therefore something bad is going to happen. I feel attracted to this person, therefore they must be right for me. I feel guilty saying no, therefore I should say yes. Emotions are data. They're important. They tell you something is happening in your nervous system, but they are not truth. You can feel anxious about a completely safe situation. You can feel attracted to a completely toxic person. You can feel guilty for setting a healthy boundary. Feelings lie, constantly. And when you make decisions based on feelings instead of facts, you become a puppet to your own nervous system. Here's a scenario. You're offered a job. It's a significant pay increase, better title, impressive company, but something feels off. You can't articulate it. You just have this nagging sense of unease. Emotional reasoning says, this feels wrong. I should turn it down. Clear thinking says, why does this feel wrong? What specifically is triggering this response? Is it intuition detecting a real problem? Or is it fear of change? Fear of inadequacy? Imposter syndrome? You see the difference? Emotional reasoning stops at the feeling. Clear thinking interrogates the feeling, separates signal from noise, determines if the emotion is pointing toward truth or away from it. Most people never do this. They feel something and immediately act on it, or immediately suppress it, without ever asking why they feel it. And that makes them completely predictable. If you understand someone's emotional triggers, you can control their decisions without them ever knowing. That's how manipulation works. That's how advertising works. That's how toxic relationships work. Someone learns what makes you feel guilty, afraid, or desperate, and they pull those strings whenever they need you to do something. And you comply, because you're making decisions based on feelings, not facts. The third enemy of clear thinking, social pressure. This is the most dangerous one, because it's invisible. You think you're making independent decisions, but you're not. You're making decisions based on what you think other people expect, approve of, or will judge you for. The man who invested in Bernie Madoff's fund didn't just trust his brother-in-law, he trusted everyone else who was doing it. If all these smart people are investing, it must be legitimate. That's not thinking. That's outsourcing your judgment to the crowd, and the crowd is almost always wrong. Machiavelli wrote, "The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present." Translation: don't let past commitments or social obligations trap you in bad decisions. If you said you'd do something, but new information reveals it's a terrible idea, break your word. Not recklessly, not without consequence, but strategically. Clear thinking requires the courage to disappoint people when the situation demands it. Most people can't do this. They'd rather drive off a cliff than admit they made a bad commitment. Think about how many times you've done something you didn't want to do because you didn't want to disappoint someone, attended an event you had no interest in, lent money you couldn't afford to lose, stayed in a friendship that drained you, agreed to a project that derailed your priorities, all because you couldn't handle the social discomfort of saying no. That's not kindness, that's cowardice, and it's costing you your life, one compromised decision at a time. Now if you're still with me, you're starting to see the pattern. Ego, emotion, social pressure. These are the three forces that create the fog, that cloud your judgment, that turn clear thinking into a mess of rationalization and self-deception. And if you're recognizing yourself in these examples, if you're realizing how many decisions you've made from fog instead of clarity, do me a favor right now, hit that like button, because we're about to shift from diagnosis to treatment, from awareness to empowerment, and what comes next will give you the exact tools to think like Machiavelli, cold, clear and untouchable. So how do you actually cut through the fog? How do you develop the mental discipline to see reality as it is, not as you wish it to be, fear it to be, or need it to be? It starts with one practice, brutal self-honesty. Not the kind of honesty where you admit small flaws to feel virtuous, the kind where you interrogate your motivations until there's nothing left to hide behind. Here's the practice. Before you make any significant decision, you ask yourself 3 questions, and you don't move forward until you can answer them with complete honesty. Question 1. What do I actually want from this decision? escape from feeling inadequate. Until you know what you actually want, you can't make a clear decision, because you don't even know what you're deciding for. Question 2. What am I afraid will happen if I'm honest about this? This is where the fog lives. Every time you lie to yourself, it's because you're protecting yourself from a truth you don't want to face. You stay in a bad relationship because you're afraid of being alone. You don't quit your job because you're afraid you're not good enough to do better. You don't confront the person who wronged you because you're afraid of conflict. The fear isn't the problem. The problem is not acknowledging the fear, because when you don't acknowledge it, it controls you invisibly. But when you name it, when you say I'm staying because I'm afraid of being alone, suddenly it loses power. You can't manipulate someone who sees their own manipulation clearly, including yourself. Question 3. If I knew I'd be dead in 6 months, would I still make this decision? This is the ultimate clarity filter, because when you remove the long-term consequences, when you strip away the social pressure, the sunk costs, the what-ifs, what's left is the truth. Would you stay in that relationship if you had 6 months to live? No. Would you stay in that job? No. Would you keep avoiding that conversation? No. So why are you doing it now? Because you're making decisions based on fear of an imaginary future instead of clarity about the present. The person who thinks clearly understands this. The future is always uncertain. The only thing you control is what you do right now. And right now, you either make the decision that serves your truth, or you make the decision that serves your fear. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. You're considering leaving your job. You've been thinking about it for months. You apply the 3 questions. What do I actually want? I want to feel challenged. I want to grow. I want to work on something I'm proud of. This job offers none of that. What am I afraid will happen if I'm honest? I'm afraid I won't find anything better. I'm afraid of the gap on my resume. I'm afraid of disappointing my family, who think this job is stable. If I had 6 months to live, would I stay? Hell no. Suddenly the decision is clear. Not easy, but clear. You leave. Not impulsively, but strategically. You plan your exit. You line up options. You move with precision. Because now you're thinking clearly, instead of thinking fearfully. This is what Machiavelli meant by the wise man does at once what the fool does finally. The fool spends 3 years in that job, getting more miserable, more stagnant, more resentful, until they finally break and quit in a moment of emotional collapse. The wise man sees the truth in month 1, plans, executes, moves on, same destination, completely different journey. Now let's talk about the second practice, inverted thinking. This is a mental model that forces you to see the opposite perspective of whatever you're considering. Most people only think forward. If I do this, what will happen? Clear thinkers think backward. If I do this, and it fails catastrophically, what would the cause be? This practice destroys optimism bias. It exposes blind spots. It shows you the traps you're walking into before you step in them. Here's how it works. You're considering starting a business with a friend. Forward thinking. This could be amazing. We work well together. We have complementary skills. We're both motivated. Inverted thinking. Okay, imagine it's 2 years from now, and the business has imploded. Our friendship is destroyed. We're in debt. What happened? And then you simulate it. We never clarified roles. We assumed we wanted the same things but never discussed it. We didn't have a conflict resolution process. When money got tight, we blamed each other. Neither of us wanted to be the bad guy, so problems festered until they exploded. Now you see the landmines. And you can either address them before you start, create clear agreements, define roles, establish conflict protocols, or you can decide this partnership is too risky. Either way, you're making a clear decision based on reality instead of hope. The man who invested in Madoff's fund never did inverted thinking. He only thought forward. These returns are incredible. I'll retire early. Financial security. If he'd thought backward, what would have to be true for this necessarily true. Sometimes you make the right decision and get unlucky. Sometimes you make the wrong decision and get lucky. Clear thinking requires you to evaluate decisions based on the process, not just the result. Here's what I mean. You're playing poker. You have a strong hand. The odds are 80% in your favor. You bet everything. You lose. Did you make a bad decision? No. You made a statistically sound decision. You just hit the 20%. But if you judge decisions purely by outcome, you'll conclude you were wrong to bet, and you'll stop making good bets in the future. That's how people develop learned helplessness. They make good decisions, get unlucky, and conclude they can't trust their judgment. Or the opposite, you make a reckless decision. You didn't do your research. You ignored red flags. You got lucky, and it worked out. If you judge purely by outcome, you'll think you're brilliant, and you'll keep making reckless decisions until your luck runs out. Clear thinking separates the two. The decision was sound, but I got unlucky. I'd make that decision again. The decision was reckless, but I got lucky. I need to improve my process. This is how you learn. This is how you refine your judgment, not by results, by process. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He wrote, "Where the willingness is great, the difficulties cannot be great." Translation: focus on your intent and your process. The outcome is partially outside your control. All you can do is think clearly, act decisively, and let the chips fall. Let me give you one final practice, the October 10th 10 rule. Before you make a decision, ask yourself, how will I feel about this decision in 10 minutes? How will I feel about it in 10 months? How will I feel about it in 10 years? This practice collapses time. It forces you to see past immediate emotion and consider long-term consequence. You're furious at someone. You want to send a scorching email. Destroy them verbally. 10 minutes. I'll feel vindicated, powerful, relieved. 10 months. I'll regret it. I'll wish I'd stayed composed. 10 years. I won't even remember why I was angry. Clear decision. Don't send the email. You're offered a high-paying job that requires 80-hour weeks. 10 minutes. I feel excited, validated. This is a huge opportunity. 10 months. I'm exhausted. I haven't seen my family. My health is deteriorating. 10 years. I regret sacrificing my life for a paycheck. Clear decision. Negotiate for better terms or decline. This rule works because it forces you out of the present moment, where emotions are loudest, and into the future, where clarity lives. Most bad decisions feel good in the moment, and terrible in retrospect. Most good decisions feel hard in the moment, and obvious in retrospect. The October 10th 10 rule helps you collapse that gap. So here's where we are. You've learned that your brain is working against you. That ego, emotion, and social pressure create fog. That most of your decisions aren't yours. They're compromises between what you want and what you're afraid of. But you've also learned the antidote: brutal self-honesty, inverted thinking, separating decision from outcome. The October 10th 10. These aren't tips, these are weapons. And when you wield them consistently, you become untouchable. Because while everyone else is stumbling through fog, making decisions based on feelings, fears, and what other people think, you're operating from a place of cold, ruthless clarity. You see the board, you see the traps, you see the outcomes before the first move, and that makes you dangerous. But here's the final truth, the one Machiavelli knew, and most people never learn. It is better to act and repent than not to act and regret. Clear thinking without action is just philosophy. You can see the truth. You can know what needs to be done. You can understand every principle I've taught you. But if you don't act, if you stay paralyzed in analysis, in fear, in comfort, nothing changes. The man in the garage didn't just make one bad decision. He made two. First, he ignored his intuition and invested. Second, he let that mistake define him. He couldn't forgive himself, couldn't rebuild, couldn't see past the loss. That's the real tragedy. tragedy, not the bad decision, the inability to recover from it. Clear thinking isn't about never making mistakes, it's about making fewer mistakes, catching them earlier, recovering faster. It's about operating from truth instead of illusion. It's about being the person who sees what's coming while everyone else is blindsided. It's about trusting yourself, not blindly, but because you've done the work to think clearly, honestly, and strategically. So now you have a choice. You can go back to making decisions the way you always have, letting ego, emotion, and social pressure guide you, hoping for the best, repeating patterns, or you can become someone different. Someone who thinks like Machiavelli, who sees reality as it is, who makes decisions from clarity instead of fog. Someone who controls their destiny instead of being controlled by circumstances. If you're ready, if you're done being the fool who learns through pain, and you want to become the wise man who sees the trap before stepping in it, subscribe right now. Drop a comment below, telling me the one decision you've been avoiding because you've been thinking through fog instead of clarity, and share this with someone who needs to hear it, because the world needs fewer people stumbling blind, and more people who see clearly. One more thing before I let you go. That man in the garage, he didn't pull the trigger. His wife found him, talked him down. They rebuilt, slowly. 20 years later, he's fine. Not wealthy, but alive, present, clear-headed. And he said something I'll never forget. I lost the money in 8 seconds, but I lost myself over 3 months because I couldn't forgive myself for not listening to what I already knew. That's the real lesson. You already know the truth about the relationship, the job, the person, the decision. You've always known. The only question is, will you think clearly enough to act on it? Will you spend 3 months, 3 years, 3 decades living in the fog, pretending you don't see what's right in front of you? Machiavelli wrote for princes, for rulers, for people who couldn't afford to think unclearly, because kingdoms depended on their judgment. You might not rule a kingdom, but you rule your life. And your life deserves the same clarity, the same ruthless honesty, the same strategic thinking. So the next time you're facing a decision, big or small, remember this: your brain will lie to you, your emotions will mislead you, other people will pressure you, but underneath all that noise, there's a truth. And if you're willing to cut through the fog, if you're willing to ask the hard questions, face the uncomfortable answers, and act on what you know, you'll make the decision the wise man makes. Not eventually, not after enough pain. Now, because that's what clear thinking is. It's not intelligence, it's not education, it's not experience. It's the courage to see what's true, and act accordingly. Even when it's hard, even when it's lonely, even when everyone around you is telling you you're wrong. Go, think clearly, decide boldly, act decisively, and let the world stumble through fog while you move through clarity. That's power. That's Machiavelli. That's you, if you choose it.